At recent city council meetings in Frisco, Texas, the microphone has been dominated by a single recurring complaint from residents, an alleged Indian takeover of their suburb. This line graph maps Frisco's demographic data over the last 20 years. The Asian and Indian population here has grown by 4,510%. Frisco has become a major hub for companies that rely heavily on the H1B visa program. The tension in Frisco is a local symptom of a global, multi-billion-dollar corporate operation. The H1B is a temporary work visa. By law, it exists so American businesses can hire foreign experts when they face a severe shortage of qualified domestic workers for highly specialized roles. Over the last 2 decades, massive IT staffing corporations have bypassed that legal intent. They use the visa to import thousands of entry-level workers who are legally tied to their employers, unable to easily switch jobs or negotiate better pay. A program built to import rare talent is instead being used as a high-volume pipeline for cheaper, more compliant workers. The system is dominated by giant outsourcing firms, companies like Infosys, Wipro, and Tata Consultancy Services. They manage to secure up to 75% of all H-1B visas issued annually, resulting in tech workforces that are often up to 95% South Asian. This diagram illustrates the core financial incentive. On one side, the average American IT specialist earns a base salary of around $110,000. On the other side, an H-1B worker brought in by these firms earns between $65,000 and $70,000. That is a 36 to 41% discount on labor. When a corporation saves up to $45,000 on a single employee, multiplied across thousands of visas, the profit margins are staggering. To implement this cost-cutting, domestic companies will lay off their existing American IT staff. To receive their final severance packages, fired employees are often required to sit down and train the foreign guest workers brought in to replace them. The business model driving these outsourcing giants is not about finding missing skills. It is a calculated exercise in aggressive wage suppression. Because the government caps the number of visas issued each year, the mega outsourcing firms aggressively flood the federal lottery system to ensure they win the vast majority of the available slots. They do this by setting up shell companies and submitting thousands of applications for jobs that do not actually exist. Once the visas are approved, the financial exploitation moves to the workers themselves. Federal law dictates that employers must cover visa processing costs, but these firms routinely force the foreign workers to pay the $4,000 to $5,000 fees out of their own pockets. When those workers arrive in the U.S., they face a practice known as benching. If the outsourcing firm doesn't have an immediate client contract for them, the workers are kept on standby, entirely unpaid. This split screen compares the physical realities of the benching system. While 5 or 6 unpaid workers are crammed into tiny apartments in places like New Jersey waiting for an assignment, the official paperwork filed with the federal government lists their official work sites as empty residential homes in states like Texas. The operation relies on hoarding human beings as unpaid on-demand inventory, all shielded by a paper trail of ghost addresses. Regulators are finally beginning to map out this network. State attorneys general and federal agencies are now launching probes, conducting unannounced site visits, and handing down indictments for charges like money laundering and RICO conspiracies. Those investigations are forcing financial penalties. The Department of Labor recently compelled one IT firm to pay over $64,000 in back wages for benching just a single employee, adding to a growing list of multi-million-dollar settlements for visa violations across the industry. Which brings us back to the meetings in Frisco. The friction in those rooms stems from a real economic disruption, but the anger is aimed at a demographic shift instead of the corporate opportunism that created it. This system claims 2 sets of victims. It blocks American STEM graduates from entering their own domestic job market, and it traps desperate foreign professionals in an abusive labor pipeline with very little legal recourse. Until the loopholes in the H-1B system are closed, mega corporations will keep running the math, extracting billions in profit off the backs of workers on both sides of the globe.
Let's kick it.